Come on in, everybody. Welcome to the Clusterpuck Podcast, part of the MHRT Network here at Center Ice. I am Nick. Beside me here shortly is Brit. We got a lot of stuff to cover from the week that happened, and wow, do we have it. A lot of emotions, I suppose, from this last week. Before we go ahead and get started, don't forget everyone to like and subscribe. Follow the MHRG Network so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterpuck Podcast go live. You can follow the MHRG Network on the various social media platforms, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, the works. If you want to follow us, you can follow us at Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads, and then at the Clusterpuck Podcast on Facebook. Okay, so we just wrapped up the game between the Avalanche and the Detroit Red Wings, but let's actually kind of take it a step further back here. So the Avalanche just finished off last week a 6-game road trip, and it was one that really did not play kind to them at all. They went 1-4-1 on that 6-game road trip, their only win being against the Capitals and the overtime loss being against the Rangers. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about obviously the weekly look ahead. That'll be the last segment of the episode, and then in between we have a couple of reasonings as for the losses perhaps that have been occurring, especially on this road trip, is one that we'll talk about. And the play of specifically Ryan Johansson, as he had a very good game against the Canucks a couple of days ago. And so we'll kind of discuss what went on, all that kind of stuff. Either way, it'll be a good time. So let's go ahead and get started then. So last week, the games we went over were let me make sure I have it right. I think we need to go over the Lightning, Coyotes, Canucks, and then obviously the Red Wings that just happened. So let's start with that one then. So we talked about the Capitals came off a win. Great. You're trying to salvage anything you can from the road trip. And it was not a very kind road trip, especially with the losses to the Hurricanes, the Devils, all in very brutal fashion. Obviously, Britt and I have to a large extent, talked about our comments, our feelings about it. We were hoping maybe with the Lightning game, as it's the last game of your the road trip, that you would potentially come out with a bang or finish with a bang. You know what I mean? Where you thought you would give it your all, everything was going to be fine. You're going to head home in the very next game, but it's time to finish strong, right? And for the most part, yes, until the third period. So obviously Bo Byram was kind of the standout in this game, where he scored 2 goals. The first and second of the Avalanche goals were his. Lehkonen has a power play goal, and the Avs into the third period, about, I'd say, the better part of 3 or 4 minutes, were ahead of the Lightning. It was a very back and forth game where it was the Avalanche go up 1, Lightning grabbed 2 quick ones. They were up 2. Bo Byram ties the game. Lehkonen makes them go up. And then after that, it fell apart. Like, to be completely honest, it just felt like just the train ran off the rails, and all of a sudden the Avalanche forgot how to skate. Now, granted, 2 of those were empty net goals from Tampa. And that's kind of what skews the final score of a 6-3 loss, is 2 empty net goals, which is fine, right? But at the same time, it seemed like after Lehkonen's goal, everything just kind of started falling apart. Especially when Stamkos got the even strength goal, and then Kucherov about 4-ish minutes later puts the Lightning up 4-3. This game ultimately, it did have a playoff-like feel. Definitely was very physical. It was very hard hitting. But the issue I took with is that the Avalanche, and they've done this multiple times that I've noticed on the season, where they just, as soon as stuff goes south, they just tend to give up almost, where just I don't want to say they check out mentally. Like mentally, they're still in the game, but they just seem to play with this weight on the shoulder, almost like a sulk, but of like a physical sulk, where then their passes are not crisp. Nothing seems to land. Their zone rushes they're slow, things like that. And honestly, it's frustrating, definitely, to say the least. But at the same time, they've in the NHL, they're one of the best teams that score in the third period, right? So to me, there should be zero excuse as to why you weren't able to procure a couple of extra goals. Oh, here she is. Hey, Brit.
My computer screen just keeps going black, and then I restart it. Technology really, really hates me tonight, so
Yeah,
I'm not in a mood.
That's I've had that feeling many a time, so I get you. So we're talking Tampa right now, and I was talking about just kind of how frustrating it is that it seems like whenever the Avalanche go up and then all of a sudden they lose a lead, they just kind of go into this like sulking phase, if that makes any sense. And I can't tell if you're still here. You got a frozen screen on me, but that's kind of the discussion we were at, was just a sulking phase. So again, you finish the road trip on a very, very sour note. It's very disappointing, especially with the 5-game road trip where you did a pretty decent job. Let's see, Britt, are you there?
I don't know. I don't really know.
Oh, okay, I got you now.
Can you see me?
I can hear you. I just can't see you, so you might need to just, I guess, turn the camera off or whatever. It's fine.
I'm sorry. I'm about to throw my computer.
Not to worry. But thoughts on the Tampa game, I guess, Britt?
It wasn't devastating. I mean, it felt like I don't know. It didn't feel good, but it didn't feel like the rest of the week had, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Finishing, another question for you, Britt. You finished the road trip 1-4-1. Yikes. That was going to be my first thing.
Yikes and yikes.
Yeah. But so what made the Avalanche lose all these games? Like, I don't know if there's one particular answer, but if you could boil it down to maybe 1, 2 or so things, what was it?
There's just like such a lack of cohesiveness, and I really think a lot of it comes down to our top lines, both on offense and defense, just not being enough. Cale Makar is not Cale Makar. Mikko Rantanen has just been an absolute passenger the last few games. I don't care if he's getting his like random points. Like, it's not enough. We expect more of him, especially when he's going to come lay his balls on the table and ask for $12 million next year.
Mm-hmm.
Ain't it, buddy?
Not with how you've been acting, or recently, I should say. But that's the thing is with Rantanen, that's not the first time he's just kind of had these.
I am genuinely to the point where I think that we need to take him away from McKinnon. I think McKinnon is his crutch. It's too easy to fuck around. Excuse me. Sorry. I'm really crabby. I'm really, really crabby. It's too easy for him. Even tonight in the Red Wings game, there was a point where he made a pretty good pass, one of those Mikko passes, stringing it through a thread and like right through the needle in the crease. And then he stood there and admired it. And the puck came back to him, and it was almost like he was surprised that he should have a stick on the ice. And that's just such classic Mikko Rantanen, which if he was JT Compher or if he were like Miles Wood or Ross Colton, it wouldn't be so maddening. But he is too good for those mental lapses to be making him miss points where you're too good, dude. And you're going to want a lot of money, and you're playing with Nathan McKinnon. You need to get your shit together. Stop already tonight bitching about penalties, which, yeah, it was a pretty bad penalty. He definitely, that was not
it was questionable
penalty, which felt like a lot of them were. Dylan Larkin sure is good at drawing penalties. My God, I tell you what.
So was JT Compher, apparently.
Yeah, that one on the wrist, like, shut up. Oh my God. And then that last one, LOC, like, we just don't have puck luck right now. Puck luck, ref luck, any little grace. Like, I swear to God, Onanen gets every ounce of puck luck that Georgiev. I mean, I just don't think that Georgiev is to blame a whole lot for this road trip, because did we have any games that we scored more than 3 and lost? I mean,
So in the 6-game road trip, you lose in overtime to the Rangers 2-1.
which that game
lose to the Devils 3-5, lose to the Hurricanes 5-2, get swept by the Panthers 4-0, win against the Capitals 6-3, and then ultimately lose to the Lightning 6-3. So
just can't. I don't think you can blame Georgiev for all that. Like, and the Tampa game, 2 of them were open netters, weren't they?
Yeah, 2 of them were empty netters, which is another thing that I brought up.
I don't think that we can blame the whole entire freaking world on Georgie anymore. I just think it comes down to Makar in the top line and mostly Rantanen.
Yeah, I would agree. So either way, that road trip is concluded. It's the longest of the league, of the team. I think the next longest one is just going to be a 4-gamer, which is
and
like
that's
peanuts compared to what we just went through.
Exactly. And it's not, the schedule doesn't get substantially easier team-wise, but we're finally through the brutal. We always seem to be kind of front-loaded on the schedule, and now we get to the point where we've got a lot of like 2 goals between games, goals. I just got like losing on the mind, man. So we have a lot of 2 days between games now, which doesn't seem like we've had a whole lot of like good gaps as of lately. It has been brutal since basically January 1st until right now. But I was looking, and it really does lighten up for us. And oh my God, we need Nichushkin back. And I just keep saying, they didn't say anything about Sammy G coming back. He just was home.
Just kind of showed up. Yeah,
it took a couple days to get acquainted with the ice. And if he is any like sign as to what Nuke might look like, feel like, perform like when he gets back, then the world better hold on to their butts, because Gerard has been unreal. I mean, honestly,
good.
Possibly the most reliable player, like not even just defenseman, player on this team.
Captain do well, pretty much.
Yeah. And so if we can see anything like that, considering what Nuke was, Sam was struggling.
Better come back like Connor McDavid. You know, he better just be dishing out like multiple goal games.
It's scary to think that what he could be if he was at his lowest when he left, because he surely wasn't performing like it was his lowest. So
crazy. So that 4-game road trip that comes up here on March 12th. It starts March 12th. It's against the Flames, Canucks, Oilers, and Blues. So that's still a pretty hefty lineup, all things considered.
Could
but
be
what I'm hoping,
we could make everybody RB on that. I mean,
you could, well, not just it. It all depends on what you do going into that road trip. Because the thing is, and I will fully die on this hill where I think the All-Star game killed the momentum that the Avs had, that winning kind of momentum, just butchered it right there. And they have had a tough time getting it back.
Wild. And then, I was surprised to see Mac play as well. I mean, tonight's game was so freaking lame. Oh my God. Ugh.
Oh yeah. But we'll get to that in a second. We got a couple extra.
Like, you have to think of all these little things that have just derailed them since coming back. Like, all of them. Yeah,
and that's the thing, is they fell back on, I don't want to say old habits, but just bad play more than anything. Well, however,
Leandro's got the flu. Is that?
I think that's what it was. He was feeling under the weather, so they put in Chris Wagner, who.
So you got to wonder if he's been feeling crappy too.
Could be. Yeah, it really could be. However, the Avalanche did have 2 games in between this game that just happened tonight. They had 2 wins.
Yeah.
Against the Coyotes, which were the bane of our existence, and the Canucks, in which they did a very solid job considering the Canucks were first in the league.
An amazing game. It was really good.
So with the Coyotes game, obviously your top 3 guys, Nathan McKinnon, I would say Jack Johnson with a goal and an assist, and then Devon Taves with your effectively game winner.
Yeah.
Just again, this is just one where you come out scoring first, you give up the lead, you tie it up. It felt very Tampa-ish from literally the game prior, where it was like, who's going ahead? But
Nothing is ever simple
ultimately,
against the Coyotes.
it is, and that's the thing is, that seems to be the whole MO in this Coyotes and Avalanche matchup, is that even though the game might get out of hand, it's never really finished.
No.
You know, because even earlier in the season,
like, honestly, the Coyotes game elicited more emotion than the Detroit game tonight. Like, that rivalry is so dead and gone, and it's like the Coyotes games are they're always a show, man. It's crazy.
yeah, and so they always make for good games, and again, this is a Coyotes team they're not bottom of the barrel. They're still in the hunt for a playoff spot, and this is one that it's like, doesn't necessarily tip the scales big time or anything like that, but it's just one of those thorn in the side type of games that if you're not careful, they just beat you. And so luckily in this type of game, Devon Toews ends up breaking the tie late in the game, gives them the go-ahead goal, and they score. But the big thing I think in this one is the notes you should have, the application that you should have done in the game prior, where you had the lead going into the third period, and you gave it up. Where in this case, you fought to
get this phenomenal third period team. Because we're already a terrible first period team, so we simply cannot be a terrible first and third period team.
Logistically, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
But we skate away with the win. It was a very refreshing win, although it was definitely a jaw clincher.
And man, you got to feel for the Yotes. That's like what I think they're at 10 losses now, 11. Did they lose tonight too? Or do they have a night off?
They lost last night, but yeah, lost there. But
that tells you about like the disparity in the league. Like, there's never been a smaller gap between the top and the bottom, because the Yotes are one of the worst in the league right now, and they're just not that bad. And so like I don't think the NHL has ever had such a tight race for everything. Like, there's no best team in the league, no best team in the Central, no best team really there's
all just kind of a crapshoot at this point. Yeah, you're exactly right.
Which is like kind of cool, but also it's like, good God, I need to like relax and breathe for a minute and just know that the team is the best.
No kidding. But speaking of the best, the Canucks that was the next game. They come into town being, by numbers, the best team in the league, first overall in points and whatnot. The Avalanche skate away with a 3-1 victory. Georgiev did an amazing job in that. However, this game goes to Ryan Johansson.
Yeah.
Who suddenly, like, I'm not kidding, it almost felt like it was a little blip that went off the radar, and it just comes right back, and you're like, oh my gosh, he's alive. This was the Ryan Johansson show. He played phenomenally in this game. He was noticeable from the very get-go. 2 goals, which obviously help in that kind of cause, but not only on like the offensive side of things, where he was dishing out very good passes, his vision was very good.
You suppose he's been reading Twitter or what?
I don't know. I think he watches the Cluster Puck podcast, part of the MHRT network, and sees us complaining, obviously. But this is one where it's like, okay, he still has what we need, right?
Well, that's what I was saying the other night. I can't remember if I texted you, but could you imagine if suddenly Johansson figured out of his shit and Georgie hit playoff mode? Like, could you imagine if they actually did the things that they could do?
That would be phenomenal. That would be 100%
we don't need
phenomenal.
We got Ryan Johansson.
And well, so that just begs the question is, how come he wasn't able to produce that for 20 games?
I don't know.
Yeah, he had spurts and some assists here and there, but it was 20 games since his last goal.
I don't know, because I think he's just slower, truly, than much of
He is a slower skater, yes.
But I don't know, maybe is Jack Johnson fast anymore? I mean, can you find ways, but it's different as a forward, but can you find ways to operate like at a serviceable level within a fast-moving team if you are putting yourself in the right places at the right time to minimize the skating. You know what I mean? Because it's the apathy, I think, that stands out more so than just the straight up foot speed. So I don't know. I sure as hell won't be mad if he figures it out and goes on to be good at thirds, 3C even. If he could make himself serviceable as a 3C, a good 3C, and we could put Ross Colton up there, could like totally change everything.
I agree. However, I would not want to break up the Roaring 20s line. Right now, they are the heartbeat of the
third line is the second line. I think
I would agree.
Second line.
I could agree with that.
Nuke is going to come back, and like I said, it's gonna these like gears that are just like not quite. They're hitting each other a little bit. I feel like Nuke is going to come back, and finally, it's all going to come into place and get real nasty, hopefully, or just fall apart. I don't know.
It could be. So Allie asks here, do you think it's a lack of effort by Rijo sometimes? I would say yes sometimes, to the sometimes bit. But there were just like a lot of times it just feels like he doesn't know his place anymore.
No.
And that's not like he'll still give it his all for face-offs or crashing against the board, stuff like that. And like he doesn't do dumb things with the puck, but it's just he's not advancing the possession.
I don't know if his role feels right to him yet. Like, I don't know, because before, I mean, he was the guy, so you just do what you want. You know what I mean? Like, you set the pace and the standard. I forgot to, I put Glenn's comment up there, but I gotta, did Mike post the video of him doing the wing contest? So I invited Mike, the owner of our network. He came to one of my Muskies games where I announced, and he did the wing eating contest, and he lost.
Oh,
he's a talking football fan. So I thought
it was man.
No, I didn't see that. Fun. I'm trying to remember who he was up against. It was fun though. So it was nice to have him out. He brought his family, and they got some overtime. It was fun. But yeah, Glenn, I wasn't disappointed, but I was surprised. But Mike's not a super. I think the only thing I've really seen him get a little rowdy over is football. So I didn't expect him to go too wild.
There you go.
But yeah, I think Allie, it's like really hard to tell with Rijo. Sorry to just go right back into it.
No.
Because I had heard like lingering talking, and I'm not sure if you heard about it, but when Taze was talking about the passengers thing, that was kind of like a direct shot for Rijo. And so I'm wondering if he kind of got there, thought that he was going to go all in and feel good about, taking kind of a break, being a back seat, as far as like responsibilities and stuff goes. I wonder if he was like a little shook with the personality of Mac and Taze and Makar, and maybe it was a little too much for him. And now he's finally finding a place or finding a groove. Yeah. You know what I mean? And it sounds like he's a really, really good person. I've never heard anybody say anything about his personality or his like desire to excel off the ice.
Yeah. So I think, ultimately he knows, or even he's still trying to figure it out. Right. So we can only guess, but I think what it was he knew his purpose. He knew his role going into the season, and that was to be the 2C, which for the first, like I said, 15, 20 games, he was that.
Yeah.
But then just the trail went very, very cold. And so at that point, I would think mentally you'd be like, well, so then what am I? And that kind of begins to block mentally your play. Instead of going out and say, hey, every game I'm going to help my team win wherever I am, whenever I am on the ice, I'm still going to give it my all. I think the whole time he began to maybe overthink things like, okay, where am I supposed to be? Trying to go back to technical things.
The fourth line, it's a completely different set of jobs and like responsibilities. So
yeah.
You're not inherently know how to play on the fourth line because you played on the first or the second.
Yeah. And so I think it was just trying to figure that bit out where he put too much focus on that of like the technique or the technical aspect of it, strategy, where I'm supposed to be. Yeah. So with that game against the Canucks, like I said, he single-handedly outscored the Canucks.
Especially of all teams. And that's what Mark Springer kept saying is we literally would not have won that game without Ryan Johansson. And like, as much
Exactly.
as nobody wants to acknowledge that, we would not have won that game without Ryjo. So like,
100%.
people have got to learn to like have a little grace and give credit where credit is due, because sometimes you need
Us
Ryjo
included.
to do it when nobody else is doing it. Like, it's just, I don't know.
Yep.
I'm a lover.
Because as much as we bag on him, you know, as of recent,
yeah,
we see this as a means, or like as a reason to be like hopeful, right? That he can turn
absolutely.
this around.
I would love nothing more than for him to come back and shove it right up all of our hoops, because it's not gonna, my hurt feelings are not gonna be outweigh the positive things that it would do for this team. Like,
I would
especially just for like
100% agree.
Yeah.
Yep. I would not mind eating crow on our words that we've previously said. And that game.
Rarely do you hear us complaining about our players being too good.
We never do that. No, we're always 100% bright, you know, sunshine daisiys.
Yep.
But a win is a win, and you then head to Detroit for a little one-off away game before then taking on the Maple Leafs on Saturday. And this game, which just concluded, you lose the game. It
was boring as shit.
2-1
4 minutes
in the most heartbreaking way in overtime. But here's the thing: this game to me splotched Justus Annunen on the map.
Yep. I said before the game, I think that the win would not be just, the win or loss just really wasn't that valuable to me as it was to just look at some key things. And seeing Annunen, those saves that he made in the dying moments,
very good saves.
The way he tracked that puck off his own leg as he sprawled out in the splits and tracks it perfectly to Makar's stick right into under his glove. I mean,
not to mention in the first period, that blind catch that he did with like 3 moving screens in front of him, and he still snags it.
He's in position. He's square. He's got his body where it belongs.
He's a big dude.
This is a really, really good sign for the growth in his game, because he looked confident. He was out at the top of his crease. He was not shying away from any, like that one that was under his leg pad that the ref could see. He had the mind to not move his leg pad and try to cover it so that Fisher could pop it right in. Like, wait there, the boys got you. Like, they took care of Mike Fisher. Mike Fisher was on his ass before he could even find that puck under Annunen's pad. So, of all things, we stole a point. The game sucked. It just wasn't very good. Short of that 2 minutes that it's like the Roaring 20s line did all the work.
Literally
and then
everything
comes in and pops it home. I'm like, damn, the Roaring 20s.
I think it was Rycroft that said you need to give everyone on that Roaring 20s a point for an assist, because they literally did everything except score.
The best, and for a team that, and it sounds so absolutely absurd to say because it feels like I'm talking about my squirts, but Avs seem to truly struggle with line changes sometimes, and I don't understand why this has been a thing for like since Bednar got here, because there was one point where Makar was changing and we brought it in the zone and we had some good sustained pressure, and I'm pretty sure it would have been called off for an offsides because Makar just, he had some good shots, but tonight I don't know. But the Roaring 20s line completely controlled about a minute and a half of sustained pressure. Somehow we managed to get a full line change and get Lucky Mac, and I think we got Rantanen in there without letting it out of the zone, and Detroit never even, I mean, we got a full line change without them breaking it out of the zone.
Doesn't happen very often.
No, and Detroit was dead, absolutely dead. By the time Mac got in there with fresh legs, it was over. And that's all the Roaring 20s. That I took a YouTube or a video of that. I watched it like 10 times. I'm like, this is playoff stuff. Like they're a playoff line. They are so dangerous and terrifying and confusing, like the way that they operate. Their passing was so good tonight on that line. Sometimes you'd think, just make them the first line. Like other teams are clearly so caught off guard by them.
Mm-hmm. And one thing I will say though, as pedestrian as this game was, it just felt like the Avalanche were one good pass or a protected pass away from blowing this game wide open. Because the thing is, yes, Lyon their goaltender played a phenomenal game. I will give him credit because
like
he did a good job.
It's what he reminds me of. He'll steal.
But the thing was, there were a lot of times too where it was just a missed pass, or they decided to,
it was like that for the Wings too.
Just all kinds of these little things where it could have opened up any type of scoring opportunity, and this game could have easily gone to 4 goals.
Yeah, especially halfway through the second-ish, there was a point that I said, if we put in 2 quick goals, like I think we could score 10, or we could just like grovel this game all the way into the ground to the last second.
Yeah, exactly. And had it not been for a power play goal, in which the Red Wings tied the game with like 8 minutes left in the game, Justus Annunen was on his way to a shutout, and
he played absolutely phenomenal.
I was 100% confident he was going to.
But he got a lot of puck luck, which he just seems to do. And some people say you make your own luck, but also like, could he just give like a little bit of that to Georgie? Because I feel like Georgie has none at all, and like that he got a big helper from the post there at the beginning. But he looked awesome, especially compared to think about like that St. Louis game that he played last year. Was it?
As in like fiscal year or just earlier this season?
No, last season. Was that his first game against the Blues? He just looked really nervous, and he looked very sound and calm.
He looked very confident in that. And honestly, I pin 0 of this overtime loss on him. No. He played outstanding. And
seriously, what the hell was with that call at the end against LOC? Kane is like leaning on his edges to where there's no way in heck he's going to make that.
He's a seasoned vet, Brit. He knows how to get a penalty called his direction, and
my God.
But that's the thing is, I thought the game was over, and as Detroit's rolling into a power play, even if it goes into overtime, they start 4-on-3.
That's one thing. It's one thing to play 5-on-4 in the dying minutes of regulation, but then have a whole minute of 4-on-3 in overtime. That's the crap. Like, you put your whistle away unless somebody is bleeding or it's like insane. You do not call a penalty.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. But because of Justus Annunen and that save with like 6.5 seconds left, where JT Compher had the whole net to himself. I shouldn't say the whole net, but just it was him versus Annunen.
Yeah.
And he pulls a move. Annunen reads it completely and gets the blocker up. I think it was his blocker up. And it doinks off of him. And it was a phenomenal save where I was like, that right there is what gave the Avalanche the go ahead into overtime. He right there gave the Avalanche a point, regardless of the outcome. So, again, this is one
out in the first period. Did you even know that an Avalanche goalie could do that?
Do what?
Did you even know that an Avalanche goalie can get a shutout in the first period? It's not illegal to not let a goalie
nonetheless.
It's like the first 6 minutes. I'm like, we just got to get through like the first 6 minutes. Like, but that's how Hutchinson, Grubauer, JoJo, who is our other dude in there? Kemper didn't really do that, but we've had about 5 or 6 rotating crew of goalies that either let like the first 4 shots in or shut it all down.
Yep. Crazy stuff. So, the highlight of the game, obviously, Justus Annunen played phenomenally. I'd like to see him get out there more. But
in this one, I say just about any game.
The big downfall on this one, and this is exactly right here about power play personnel. The power play, you're in the zone forever, but you're not shooting the puck.
The first 2, we had 1 shot at one point.
And we were in the zone for 3/4 of the whole power play.
We need to give the second unit more time or split things up because those are the best players in the world, but it's obviously not working. Like, if this isn't a don't fix what's not broken, let's fix what's broken or piss them off until they fix it themselves. We're only seeing like 10 to, there's been so many that McKinnon is out there for a minute 30. Freaking start with the second power play unit. I'm so over it. And we know that those are the best players, but it's time to either piss them off or just force something into clicking and then put it back and see if
I think
I've been very frustrated with a lot of Bednar's choices lately. And yes, he knows better than me, but
Well, and here's my thing is I don't necessarily think it's the personnel issue. It's what the deciding to do by just passing around the puck. They're just none of them wants to play the guy that takes the shot, you know? And they're all, you know, and I don't want to pin blame, but there are 3 guys by the name of Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, and Nathan MacKinnon that just play pass around.
At what
for
point did we just
35 seconds
for 3 games?
And it's like they can get set up, and I've noticed this in the last like however handful of games. Anytime they're on the power play, they set up just fine. That the zone entry is, believe it or not, the aspect that works. It's once they're there, they camp. They don't do anything. They look for the perfect opportunity. No, what you need to do is say there is an opportunity and you take it. I don't care if eventually it gets plugged as the puck's on the way to the net. You had the opportunity. You need to take it because you don't know if a moving screen is going to deflect it in, a wayward stick, someone's skate, whatever. It's about taking that risk because, again, you're on the power play. Their objective is just to dish it down. But guess what? Your zone entries are fine. So just set it up again.
Well, and it was just all so, I don't know. It just did not, the energy wasn't there. I mean, they're just like, they're making a lot of good passes and they're getting the lanes and stuff. And I don't know why Makar's shot keeps getting blocked from the point in the power play over and over and over again. I swear some dude put his butt cheek right in front of them. It's like, did you watch the All-Star game, dude? Like, you probably don't want to put your butt cheek in front of Cale Makar. But yeah, I mean, it's just like getting dressed up all pretty and looking nice to stay home. Like, these guys they're doing so many amazing things, and then there's the last part that's not getting done. And that's what I just feel like if we're gonna be opening up to putting the blender on the Roaring 20s line, then it's about time that we mixed up the power play, because the Roaring 20s line is the only thing working in the power play. Is the most egregious not working item in this lineup. So honestly, I don't give a shit who you put in or how you mix it up, or even just make them come off after a minute. Like, MacKinnon is the best, in my biased mind, is the best player in the world, but him after a minute 30 in the power play is not generally going to be more effective than fresh who freaking ever.
So and that's, again, I said those 3 names because they do all the passing around. However, I think it would also be wise if Lehkonen and Drouin down in the crease and in kind of the nitty-gritty area got a little bit more physical, pushing guys off to create some open opportunities and stuff.
Drouin just kind of had a struggle night. You know, he has had a couple struggle games, really.
He has, but he had some very good opportunities today as well, right? So, but with the power play, though, the only thing I noticed that Drouin does is if MacKinnon does dish it to the inside, you know, in the slot, instead of Drouin doing a quick one-timer or turn and fire type of deal, he pushes it right back out to MacKinnon, right? Where it's like he didn't have a guy around him. He could have taken the time to get a closer shot. So, again, I think it's all 5.
He opted out of like a quick snapshot.
He did a couple times even. And I think it boils down to is all of them are looking for the perfect shot, which again does not come by, right? Or they just don't want to be, you know, that they're too afraid of playing selfish hockey. Right. So either way, again, kind of a pedestrian game, pretty frustrating on a lot of things.
About like Miles Wood and Ross Colton, though, is like they can just be a little shameless and wild, you know, and take those shots that maybe they don't have the right to take, or somebody else might try to be less selfish, but like just take them, baby. Like, I don't know. And then maybe we do this on the other end, but may as well try something different at this point, because our power play is not clicking. It's amazing the gap between the highs and lows of our power play. It's terrifying.
It's crazy, because you remember that span going into the All-Star break where they were cooking. It's like as soon as they went on the power play, it was a guaranteed goal. It was
came back so bad after watching them in Chicago on the power play in person is disgusting. Which, by the way, you're going to have to tell us all about your little Sharky Shark game when you're done here. I just remembered that you didn't tell us about that yet. But yeah, sorry.
Yeah. No, it was good. It was good. For those of you who don't know, my wife and I went to San Francisco over the weekend to visit some family. Went to a Sharks game. So either way, though, you're doing fine in the standings because you got the point. You're only a point out of first place. It's not the end of the world. It's just frustrating these last handful of games that you just haven't played Avalanche hockey. The Avalanche hockey, Brit, that you and I know they're capable of doing.
A lot of teams are not playing how they're supposed to.
Yeah.
The Blues are like good now, I guess. We're just lucky that a lot of teams are doing some really weird stuff.
Yeah.
The Flames are beating the Bruins. WTF. Kraken and Canucks are tied. WTF.
Yep.
The Leafs beat the Golden Knights, or are beating the Golden Knights 4-0. Like, what the hell, Nick?
And it's not even the end of the first period either.
Yeah. It's all been Rangers, man. But, okay, the weirdest one tonight, the Senators beat the Stars 4-1. Like, thank you.
Which is helpful.
Friends. Yeah.
Which is helpful.
It's so weird how stuff is going down. The Caps beat the Lightning.
Also helpful.
Beat the Panthers. It's just, and then the Blues won. I mean, it's just, we're not the only people being weird, which is nice.
No, and that's the thing is, like, technically speaking, we've won 3 out of the last 5, right? So it's okay. Yeah. But it's just, it's this thing of sustained victories. Yes. You know what I mean?
Stability.
It's been a long time since the Avs won even 3 in a row, is what I'm saying.
And that's going to start a streak, right?
Exactly. It was supposed to. But I guess that can lead us right into our next segment. And for upcoming games, this can be the one, right? Because you have, I guess we'll just talk about the 2 games because the next one is in a week on a Thursday. So we might not be able to do a live one that day. But the 2 that we'll talk about for sure, they're big ones. So both home games against the Maple Leafs on Saturday and then the Stars on Tuesday. So with the Maple Leafs, Brit, right now it's quite literally Team Austin Matthews.
Yeah.
Right. And it just doesn't seem like there's much else, at least on the scorecard. Yeah, you betcha. But it just seems like if Austin Matthews doesn't do well, the team doesn't do well.
Right. Well, and you've got Tavares Marner coming back from the flu, which apparently they must be doing okay, but they're feeling hot right now. Like they're all up in their stuff with, what did Matthew hit? 50 goals in 54?
And he also hit 51 today, I want to say.
Well, he was playing at home. Did they already play in Arizona?
Yeah, it was at Arizona yesterday where he hit 50 goals.
Oh, did they win? I was really hoping that Toronto.
Oh yeah, they hurt the Coyotes pretty big. So
I feel like the interviews. Did you watch them after the Avs game? So sad. I felt really guilty about beating them. They're just kind of one of those on the danger. They're kind of in that like Stuart Skinner with the Oilers, that if their goalie shits the bed, like he's kind of notorious for doing. I was kind of comparing it earlier. Georgiev's baseline at least is like, you can pretty much count on like at 8,800, but like some of these other goalies, when you're looking at Skinner and Samsonov and stuff, you could like be looking at like at 8,500 if they're really going for their baseline. So I don't know. There's a lot of big bets on some real shaky goalies, which Wool did get reassigned to AHL. So we'll see if – I don't think Wool could play us as soon as Saturday, but you can't get out of them.
I still think it's just nutty that last April, my wife and I literally were face-to-face with the dude and had no idea it was him.
Wool?
And when we were in New York City, we went to the Rangers game and they played the Maple Leafs and Wool was the goalie. After the game, we were standing like in this little row as the players were coming out in their cars, you know, waving them down and whatnot.
Yeah.
One of the guys just walks up and he grabs a couple of his buddies and they kind of move the fence and go through. And the security guard stops and says, "Whoa, kid, what are you doing?" And he's like, No, I was the starting goalie tonight for the Maple Leafs, and we're like, oh my gosh, that's
feel?
Justin Wool. He's like right there. Like I literally could have reached out and slapped him in the face. But
I like him, and I'm happy for like this Samsonov like renaissance after his mom and dad came and told him to get his shit together.
Yeah.
But, like, duh, you never know, man. Because that's the same with like, is Jack Campbell like, did they kill him or is he just chilling in there?
They will. I'm sure they will.
Which also, have we acknowledged that Prosvetov was the goalie of the week last week in the AHL month even?
Are you serious?
Prosvetov is kicking ass in the AHL right now.
Well, good.
Like has like a 94% save average or something. So I don't know. I would love to have two guys to choose from for a backup though. Like whatever.
Sure.
So
yeah, you betcha.
Toronto is very beatable if they can do what, and we're playing them at home, right?
Yeah, this game is at home on Saturday, earlier time, 5 Mountain Time.
Stick somebody right up Austin Matthews' butt, just like Tampa did to McKinnon.
Exactly, and that was going to be my way to win the game. Is you take away Austin Matthews, you take away the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's kind of how it is because
by shutting down Mac.
Exactly, and what I did enjoy, especially the last time we faced them in Toronto, we came down from 3-0 to win 6-3, or we scored some crazy amount in a row. 5-3. 5 goals in a row, though.
I think we were down 3-0.
We were, in fact, down 3-0. So if this does happen, I'm not as concerned because Maple Leafs are an offensive-minded team.
Yeah, and they're just tricky. I mean,
so they'll score high. Your only objective essentially is to score higher.
Right.
That ultimately is what it boils down to.
They have been galvanized by this Morgan Riley thing. Like it seems to have really lit a good, fun fire under their butts because they've been soft year after year after year. And Riley comes in and sometimes taking a suspension is enough for people to like, hell yeah, you see that? That's how we do. And I mean, it really has. It seemed to have changed them a little bit. So I love Toronto, but obviously I love my teams till they're facing my team.
Exactly. And then the second game on Tuesday is going to be the Avalanche play host to the Dallas Stars. This one is going to be big because it has division implications, right? So this one, again, it almost feels like Dallas currently and Winnipeg to an extent. We're all kind of facing the same thing where none of us are playing our style hockey, right? And this is one where it's like either this gives you a boost if you're the Avalanche, or this could really kick you if it's the Avalanche.
Yeah.
Because it's a 4-point swing for first place, effectively, right? So there's a lot of stuff on the line. My biggest thing, obviously, we talk about goaltending, but again, Jake Ottinger, which I believe he's been playing, right? I heard somewhere around he was injured.
I don't think he is anymore.
I don't think he is anymore.
I mean, okay, so Georgie's rocking an 899 average. Ottinger's a 902. I love Ottinger, run through a wall for him, but he's just as streaky as Georgiev.
Exactly.
He really is.
So obviously cracking Ottinger early is one of them, but my big thing is you need to play well on defense, especially when you're sticking with your guy or keeping into your assignment. Any kind of slip up, Dallas tends to take advantage of.
Yeah, we have to come out and bring the momentum to see it.
You can't have any mishaps when you're trying to get the puck out or whatever. They have guys that just seems like all over the place.
Yeah.
So it'll be a tough matchup for sure. It'll be a fun game. I bet you it would.
They're really fun or really, really not fun.
Yeah. It's going to be fun in some capacity, good or bad. But this is going to be one where it's your best game or nothing, right? And with home ice advantage, that definitely helps. The Avalanche in the league are the best at home, so that's a plus. Nathan McKinnon has.
Can I read you our stats really quick between the two teams?
Yeah, have at it.
Power play percentage, we are 10th, they are 12th, 23% and 23%. Penalty kill percentage, we are 11th, they are 9th, 82%, 82% for the Avs. Face-off percentage, 54 to 24. So that is the only discrepancy between these two teams is They are 4th in playoff or in faceoff percentage, and we are 24th. Goal
Crazy.
Every single statistic on here is almost the exact same. It is
Almost identical.
Goals against, yeah. I mean, I'm sure if you can see this, look at everything.
Oh my gosh.
But faceoffs.
Wow.
Is that insane?
So it's Avalanche versus Avalanche, or Stars versus Stars if you're a Stars fan.
Stars with that can't win a faceoff, or Avalanche that can win a faceoff. So hopefully they're pulling up that, the NHL stats on the basic public.
Yeah, no kidding. But my gosh.
I will never understand why we can't win faceoffs. MacKinnon is the best in the world at almost everything he's ever tried, but he can't get good at faceoffs.
Yeah, and you want to know what I think? I think it's best that we don't win faceoffs because we tend to lose games we do win the faceoff. You know how weird that is? So I guess keep losing faceoffs. I hate saying that because it's annoying as all get out.
Raju got that note because he just doesn't win faceoffs anymore, I guess. Whatever.
Yeah, he's been on a cold streak there. It's funny because in that game, in those times where he was very, very absent,
he was taking. Yeah, well,
he won faceoffs, but that was it.
Faceoffs and penalty kill faceoffs, and it's like he just slowly lost every job. So maybe he can start earning them back. I don't know, but oh my God, there's some times where it's like we could really do with a faceoff win.
Yep. And then my one last note for Dallas: I am particularly interested in Zach Parise in this game. He has kind of just blended in with society as of right now. He's not playing bad hockey, but I'd like to see him have a shining star kind of moment with the team. He had the one goal against Carolina.
This is kind of his.
And here's the thing: with all that time he spent in Minnesota, he wreaked havoc on the Central Division, the Stars specifically. So this is one game where he should have a very exactly. He should have a very familiar sense against this opponent, to where hopefully he remembers some tendencies that the Stars seem to do, and a multiple point game for Parise is kind of what I have in the cards for him.
I like it. I have been very pleased with him. I certainly have.
He's been wonderful. Yeah.
I like how he joins the team and he's like, "Hey, yo, it's my last year. This isn't going great." So
yeah, we're like, oh, okay. So Avs, you have about 20 some odd games left to convince him to stay one more year.
Yeah, but I mean that first road trip, it certainly wouldn't make me.
That was not the welcome wagon that he wanted to roll out.
Did you see that one where he picked a pocket in front of the net and had a shot and shot it right above the crossbar, and he turned around and went, "Oh my God!" It was so funny.
He's still into it, but I would say with this one, Zach Parise, guy to watch.
Game out of him, especially when nobody's really going to be expecting it. You know what I mean? He's kind of a dude, not really anything's being thought of. Stuff.
Exactly. Okay, well, I think that'll run us all the way to the end of the tracks. I guess just to pass a couple of extra minutes. There was the question about the Sharks game, so we'll talk about that for just a second. My wife and I went to, like I said, San Francisco. Went to a Sharks game. They played against the Blue Jackets. That I swear, my wife and I on teams that we like have the worst luck when it comes to these types of games. Because when we went to my first Avalanche game, the year the Avs won the Cup, it was against the Flames. Johnny Gaudreau, overtime winner, and the Avs lose. We then go to New York last April, where they get 2 goals called back. One of them with 6 seconds, or as the time is expiring, gets called back for a kicking motion. They lose the game 2-4. Sharks game this time around. The game is tied, and with 6 or 13 seconds left, I think is what it was, Boone Jenner gets this stupid goal that the Blue Jackets win the game 4-3, and I'm just like, I can't win anywhere I go when it comes to where I have skin in the game. And the good part about it, though, is that Allie got a signed puck by Mackenzie Blackwood.
I love Mackenzie Blackwood. I have honestly been thinking over and over again, but I bet that the Devils regret letting him go.
Probably.
They could use any of the 65 goalies that they've had in the last 3 years, and he was, I don't know, there's something about like these West Coast teams, like the Yotes and the Sharks and the Ducks, they just kind of always have a goalie that can just do some crazy shit when they want to.
Pretty serviceable. Yep. But the obviously the outcome again, super frustrating.
Pumped the Devils, didn't they?
What's that?
Didn't the Rangers just pump the Devils? I'm sure.
Oh yeah, they swamped them pretty big. Yeah, and Allie was.
And you didn't get to see
for a shutout.
Kosher, aren't all of your favorite players out in the
Yeah, so in that game, there was no Logan Couture, who's again he's one of my favorite players. There was no Tomas Hertl, who just went under the knife and got like a 6-week out surgery type thing. Anthony Duclair was definitely the highlight of that game. With a couple extras.
He's still like around.
Yeah, but again, it's just they could have gone to overtime where I think they probably could have won, but it's just we just get to watch the most frustrating parts of a hockey game, you know. So either way, though, those jerseys, those Blackfin jerseys, wow, are they?
Oh my god, I love them.
I have one. I bought one before we went to the game, and it's in my list of favorites, no question.
When do we get an Avs blackout jersey? Make it like black and white with just little blue shimmies. I don't know, something. I want a blackout jersey. Like, why can't we? The Tampa blackout jersey with the matte helmets. Oh,
yeah, what a way they debuted that against us, huh? Yippee!
I know, but the matte helmets, like I love throwing some matte in there.
What do you think? Matte versus chrome. Do you like chrome? The chrome helmets?
Oh, I love the chrome. The Vancouver blue chrome.
Kings, Golden Knights, and now the Canucks. No,
I don't know.
Stay away from it.
Look different, like in different lighting, and you got to wear them with a dark jersey, like the Kings with the chrome with the white. But who was it? Was it the Canucks that wore it with their dark jerseys? Because that's what looks good.
They wore it with their regular blues. The matte they wore with the black, and that looked really good. But their shiny blue ones with their just regular home jerseys.
I like shiny blue.
The only way, Britt, I could enjoy those helmets is when I closed my eyes. Right, that's how bad they were. I don't like chrome.
Surprised though, because like right now, okay, so Allie posted this. Right now, Fanatics is like making the jerseys, but there's I heard for sure no retros. Which,
yeah, I know that's not gonna happen.
Man, Adidas makes some really good retros, so that
their jersey quality is just top notch, man. I'm just so mad that Fanatics is taking over. Yeah, I'm really hoping that they prove us wrong, but it's like, oh. Look at the cards, man. Read the tea leaves, dude. Like, it's not looking good for you. But I don't know. Anyway, we
want Nike. We want Nike.
I wanted Under Armour myself.
Oh, I've seen like Under Armour hockey jerseys. They're like tapered so nicely, like on the sides. Yeah. They have a really good fit.
It was kind of a change of opinion. We talked about this a few times where I was like, well, I think it'll be Nike, but I want this and this. Under Armour, I thought would have been just as fine, but
an affordable-ish, like somewhere in between, like it's,
probably. But either way, we could go into great detail about this. But like I said, our time now has come to an end. But is there anything else in this episode, Britt, that you wish to add?
No. I just want to beat Toronto just because it's my two.
I just want 2 wins, 2 very good, clean wins.
If Matthews comes out and scores a bunch of goals and they're like, see, we said that they should have been talking about Matthews for the Hart. He's got like 3 assists and 50 goals. Like, come back to me, bro, when you actually pass it twice.
We're due for a Mac trick. I think we're due for a Mac trick. So,
yes.
Either way, it'll be a fun couple of games. Like I said, the third game against Chicago at Chicago is on a Thursday, right at the time we typically record. So, probably will have a pre-recording on that one, but either way, thank you everyone for joining us on this grand adventure of a weekly recap and episode of the Clusterpuck Podcast. We enjoyed you guys' participation. We definitely encourage you guys to continue to comment more. Very good for us to continue conversation, so you guys feel included, stuff like that. So we love it and appreciate it. If you like what you saw, again, don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow the MHRT Network on the various social media platforms so you can get notified when shows like the Clusterpuck Podcast go live. You can follow us at the Clusterpuck Podcast on Facebook, and then Clusterpuck Avs on Twitter, Instagram, and Threads. With that being said, let's go win 2 more games before the next episode so that Britt and I are in good spirits.
Yeah.
We hope you guys have a great week, a wonderful weekend, and as always, go Avs go.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flame out. So high, I might never come down, so what, this is my lifestyle. Wait a minute.